Hey, welcome back to another video. Today, I'm actually going to take you through my process in creating the ship on rails through the entire scene. Now, I thought maybe I could show this in kind of the short form, but I feel like if you can really dig in and kind of get an idea of my mindset and my process and really see what it takes to dig in and get something done, then it would be very beneficial to show you the long form video. So that's what I'm going to do here today. It's going to be super fun to kind of just make this and finish this map out so we know the beginning and the end. And then in future videos, what I'm going to go through is show you how to animate the minute details of that ship as we're going through the ravine and expecting attacks and things like that. So let's get into it. All right, so here we go. I'm going to show you one thing first. What I have done, if we look here at Photoshop, let me just get into that real quick. I have the map. So this map I created from the top-down view. This is actually a screenshot from Unity, right? This is the terrain. And of course, I kind of have, around the whole edges, this is about 12 different terrains. And I just, the center terrains are really what we're working off. Maybe this is the 6 terrains that, we want to play with. The rest are the environment terrains that show the mountains in the distance. And so we start off in this area in the bottom right corner. I'll move this over a little bit so you can see it. And that's where we're coming in to kind of say, like, what's happening? Why are we here? So I have some recordings. I'm going to do some more recordings in another video, and I'll show you how I do that too. And then we're going to come through the second area, and the second area is going to be like, hey, the probe maybe finds something, and he's just cautioning the captain, and then in 2.5 is going to engage. They're going to find the enemies and engage them. And then they're going to come around this curve. The probe is kind of scanning, and the captain finds another set of enemies, and then they fly around again. And then this is kind of one of the big warnings in number 4. This is where the probe says, hey, captain, like, I don't know if we have enough people to really pull this off. We're just here to investigate, but we've already bitten off more than we can chew. And the captain, of course, is, kind of cocky. He's ready to move forward fast. So he's like, let's do it. I don't care. And so he comes into this area, and this is kind of like a bigger fight scene. Maybe there's a lot of aliens coming through, flying by. Maybe you're just blasting a ton of them, right? Just having a lot of fun. Then you come around again. And about the time we get to 7, we start to see the scene unfold, okay? And this is an area where the probe is like, okay, there's something definitely different going on. The signal has changed. Maybe they don't see any aliens, or maybe, they're no longer on his radar. And so then he moves into number 8. And number 8 is where you can finally see this kind of larger area, maybe all of the commotion. And my plan for this, without getting too revealing, is that there's a lot of aliens here. There's a ton, but maybe they're not attacking them right away. You can attack, you still have full control, but what starts happening is this captain is getting pulled in to this area. And there's this light, this like shining light that's just beaming down on kind of these areas that have these circles, kind of like a similar alien light. And the captain loses control. He loses control of his ship. Not lose control like crash, but like the alien now has control of his ship, or has control maybe physically of him. Maybe like he can't control it. Maybe he's looking through his own eyes at himself, kind of driving this ship toward the light. So that's kind of where I have it. The probe will take off to share the communication with the Solar Planetary Alliance. And then this captain is basically getting sucked and drawn into whatever the aliens have for him. So we're going to put that on rails in Unity. If you saw before, I did do this kind of planning here in Trello. I will zoom in a little bit. And all of that I explained to you is really in this Trello document. And I put that screenshot in here too. And I'll use this in a future video to kind of do the voiceovers, which I think I planned. This is the flight path. This is the dialogue, yeah. So I planned a good portion of the dialogue. I'll probably change a lot of this, but that's how I want it to go. So definitely use Trello if you're trying to plan some things. I pulled a lot out of here from that previous video. I can see I only have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards in up next. And in progress, we can put vision and flight path and rails. You really should only have like 1 in progress. So I think I think this narrative is in review. I like where it's going. Let me know in the comments if you like the idea of where I'm going with this. And I do have a larger story that I'll share with you eventually. But so we'll say that's in review. Put in the comments what you think about that. And then today we're going to do the flight path. So that's how that works. Maybe next time we'll do another dialogue text. And then obviously record the lines. Okay, so let's get into Unity. I'm going to show you, I'm going to close this map here since we already have this. Let's minimize this. And then what I actually want to do is I want to go in here and create an empty. And I'm going to bring in that, let's call it map, okay? I'm going to bring in that map to my scene so that I don't have to reference it. Now, if I go here, what I did, I already have the material here. So this material is essentially this is the image or map I pulled in, and I pulled in a material too. I created a material. I said I want it to be a URP, render pipeline, and unlit. I don't want it to be lit. I don't need it to be lit. And then I went into that material, and in the base map area right here is where I drag and dropped that image. Just boom, put it in there. Okay. So now I have a material, and on my hierarchy here, I have a plane. Okay. So in that plane, I'm going to lay it down. Let's see if we can get a little closer here. Let's put the map plane right here. Oops, not that one. Yeah, okay, we already have it. We created it. Okay. It was inside of my player rig, so the position is funky and the rotation is funky. And let's do this. And let's actually just zero out the location to... Okay. That's putting it kind of at the center. I'm gonna zoom out here, and I'm going to take it up a bit. And oops, just unclick on. And I'm gonna rotate it toward me. I think that's gonna be -90 here. Let's scale it up real big. Come on. Let's do this. Scale it. Okay, we'll just have to do this. And let's take a look at it. Okay, did we do an empty or a plane? Let's double check. I'm gonna create, I think we did an empty. Create 3D object, plane, because the empty is not scaling up. Let's delete the map. All right, let's pop this plane up here. And let's rename it map. This is just to give me reference while I'm creating the scene, right? Okay, so I zeroed that out. Okay, that's much better. We got a plane. So now I'm going to take this map. I'm going to drop it where it says lit right there because I want the map to be the material. And then once we drop it on there, sorry, the material on top of it, now we have a map. Okay. So let me bring this up and scale it up. I'm going to do this, scale it up, move it, scale it up. I'm going to hit the link button so that it scales all the same. And that's rotated that -90. Oh, maybe that wasn't it. Let's says X then. Thought it was Y. Nope. Okay, it must be Z. There it is. Okay. Let's also rotate it so it matches the scene, which is going to be the X rotation. At least 90 degrees. Okay, now let's move it up higher and scale it up. Okay, so here is our map. Now, if we look a little bit closer, I'm going to move it out just because I want to be able to reference it, you know, in different areas. All right, cool. So now you can see I got this cool map here. I could probably put it right on top of the terrain, but I want to be able to look at it. Okay, so now let's reference ourselves. If you see this 1 in the bottom right corner that we talked about, that one is all the way about here. Okay, so that's where our ship starts. That's our player rig. You can see here it's turned sideways. This animation kind of does a funny thing every once in a while if I'm not on the timeline. Okay, so now I have the beginning. And if you remember from the game itself, this is where we start, right? We start at the top. and we're flying down into this ravine. You can see on the left hand what it's doing. I'm going to slow this down a bit because I want some more dialogue to kind of happen in here. So let's do it. Let's get started. All right, on the bottom, I have the hierarchy. You can see where we start if I hit the player rig and hit F. There we go. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And now you'll see I can drag through that timeline and it's moving straight down in. Now, if I want to extend this, all I'm going to do is highlight all of it. I think that's all of it. And I'm just going to drag the first one out. So let's see. Even if it's like 6 milliseconds or six seconds, I think that it's 600 milliseconds. It's gonna be a lot longer, right? And that's maybe too slow. So maybe the better idea here is actually, so let's undo that. I think the better idea is to get down to the surface and let's see, why did the position change? That's crazy. Sometimes this will do weird things on you that you don't expect. Okay, to get to the surface and then maybe hover. So if I'm gonna hover a bit, then I want the rest of these to kind of zoom out, right? So I'm looking at these keyframes and I'm saying, okay, where do I want these? Okay, now if I get to here, now I'm kind of slow pacing through this area, right? Although the speaking is still kind of slow, I'll have to go in and adjust the timeline. If we go into the timeline here, you see that even playing with this is kind of messing with the voice over here. But it should be hitting that same dialogue test. Oh, it's actually because I'm in. If you're not in play mode, the dialogue test is not going to show you properly. So, if you do play mode here, then the dialogue text will appropriately show you. So we can kind of hover and move around in that, maybe even do some twirls, kind of get the user plate used to the mechanics. Okay, so let's see where we end up right now, and let's feel it out, because I think I'm okay with this first intro here. I will do some more movements, as I mentioned in the next video, but I want to get this ship to the end. Okay, so we kind of have a rough estimate here. I need to kill that ship because I always die running into it. But okay, so we kind of have, see how these movements kind of move around and really make the ship feel alive. I'm going to do that in one of the next videos. But right now, we're going to see where we're getting here in the end. And I think this is pretty much where we end when we get to the end of this canyon, okay? So yep, you can see that's the end of the timeline at the bottom, and we need to continue from here. So let's do that. I'm going to pause it or end it. And let's get to that timeline. So if I zoom to that character, that spot, I'm going to zoom in on the player character. All right. Now you can see we're really taking a sharp turn here. I mean, we probably should be a bit more down and to the right, like even like this. So I'm going to hit the record button here. And we're going to start doing this. So if I do this, if I hit this keyframe here, let's just get to that keyframe. And let's move them out a little bit, because I think that was a little intense. And then I'm going to go to the position. I'm going to say update key. And I should be able to see him do that instead of going. Wow, okay, what I did here is, and this is a common mistake, if you're not on the exact time, then you'll see a double keyframe here. So if I can zoom in, you see it on the right hand side down here. I have a double keyframe, and one of them is going straight to the right, while the other one is, where we had it before. So I'm going to select that main keyframe and just delete it. I can move that one in position. Now we should see it move a little closer to that. Okay. So he kind of looks like he's scrubbing. If you look at this scene, he's looking like he's kind of scrubbing against the edge of the canyon. That's okay. We're going to fix that, make it look more interesting as time goes on. But let's see here. So he's coming down into the canyon, and I'm referencing the play mode just to see what it looks like. Coming down in the canyon. I don't have this movement yet. That's right now what I'm animating is the player rig. That's why you see the camera and you see everything behind it. And if you look in the hierarchy, I have the probe, I have the target point, the main camera, the player ship. All of that's being animated in this main area, okay? And that's fine. It's a larger animation. So, okay, we're gonna do that and we're gonna go this way. What I will do in the future is I'll start animating just the player ship, okay? And that's where you can get kind of turns and make it feel more alive. But right now we're just doing this. So, okay, where do I want him to go next? Now I need to zoom in and I need to take him to another position here. Maybe he goes up a little bit and forward. And I'm going to have to actually turn the ship. Actually, I can rotate the character here. Don't need to go down, but we need to rotate on the Y. There we go. So now it'll tween between those positions. So I'm going to do update key, and this should give us, okay. So now we see we're moving, and we're moving towards the inside of that, okay? Now let's continue. We're gonna continue down this path. So it's gonna go further. Oops, not that way. I wanna make sure that you give yourself some time, okay? So let's do this. All right, we're zooming out a little bit here. Zoom out so we can see the right side. Okay, now we're gonna give it a little more time to move forward. So it starts creating that keyframe for us. Forward, and up. Make sure we're not gonna hit the ground. All right, that feels pretty good. Let's scrub through and see. So it's turning. Okay, moving through the canyon a little bit. Might be a little slow, so I'm gonna grab that, move it in a little bit, and all right. Next, we're gonna move further. So this is it. I mean, you just really, grab and drag and move and adjust. Oops, lost the track there. And let's move them further down the canyon. Let's maybe start getting him to flatten out a little bit, right? It doesn't need to be at this crazy angle all the time. I think it's at 38 degrees on the z-axis. So, okay, let's see what that looks like. So he's starting to flatten out. Yep, that's making sense in my mind. And then let's go a little bit further. He's going to flatten out entirely, right? So let's go. I think the ship itself is what's not flat, which I'm not going to edit yet. I'm going to wait. But because this z-axis is already at 0, the rotation for this is at front of the ship. And then this one I can probably 0 out as well. Okay. All right, let's zoom in, see where this position is. And let's track it, see. Okay, so he's turning. Starting to flatten out. There we go. Okay, now what I feel like I should do, let's look at the model rotation here. So this is where you can see all of the rotations. It's behind my camera here. Let me move this over for you. Not that one, this one. You can see all of the model rotations are down here at the bottom, right? So it's the individual rotation of the models, not the actual rig itself. So that's where we're stuck in this kind of weird rotation here. So if I go through, maybe I come all the way to here. Let's say it's this one, which is, I think it's about right there. And if I say this rotation is 0, now I've kind of baked in that rotation for the character. So we'll do that just, to make it a little easier for us to see our position. And then we might even pull down, let's pull down this rotation. There we go. So let's straighten him out. I actually would prefer it to be a little lower. I want him to rotate as if he's Still kind of going straight, but turning in, okay? I won't do too much more of that. I just wanted to get that straight. Now, straight is okay. We might have to turn them some other times a little bit. We'll do more later. Okay, let's move them further. So now we need to get further down this path. And we probably need to do a little bank turn here. Let's rotate them. There we go. Now, obviously, we'll bank that. Once we get the ship rotation move, we'll bank them on that turn, right? Like it's getting some momentum. Okay, so now we're going down this path. Turn, turn, turn. Let's see. Did we not bank that? We did. Okay. Just wasn't very far. So this is actually just too far. So it kind of slowed down quite a bit. All right. And let's do the big one. So let's go here. We're going to go straight towards this way a little bit, maybe up a little bit. Moving towards the really big little canyon here. So this will be good for dialogue. I'm moving it through the terrain a little bit. And I'm going to come up here so we can see ourselves flying that way. Okay, let's see how fast that is. That might be too fast. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I think the turning is a little slow, but turning, you know, you're kind of banking through that canyon, right? Okay, so now we're coming up on this area here. So we're going to move out a few more seconds. I'm going to pull it forward and up. Right. There we go. Make sure they're getting through that canyon area. And I might want to pause here for a minute, okay? So let's say they're flying through the scene. There's some dialogue between the probe and the captain, and then they get to this point. And maybe they're slowly walking through here, kind of flying through here like, oh my goodness. Maybe there's just some crazy amount of ships just in this valley. Okay, so let's zoom forward just a little bit. We'll even rotate the ship this way. And it'd be neat to kind of even scan back and forth and see what that looks like. Let's see what it looks like in this this editor. Okay, so I moved it just a little bit so you can see he's kind of like, you know, moving. Maybe there's some subtle movement. So I'm going to move that over a little bit, not very subtle. So he's moving left, moving right. Interesting. I don't know. I kind of like it. All right, and let's move on, right? So then let's say he's going to just start fighting. Just going to zoom forward here and then over here. Let's see if we zero out these. Let's see. Let's zoom over that way. Yeah. So I think he's going to want to look somewhat in that direction. Let's see what that looks like. They didn't fly too far, and that's our problem. But we'll get him shooting stuff. So let's take maybe this top-down view will help a little better. All right. So that's going to be too far. Too close. Okay, let's see. So he's moving towards that edge there. Now let's have him turn to the right. So let's turn the whole rig this way. And let's rotate it. So he came from that ravine, and I want him to turn that way. See what that looks like. So he comes to the edge. He's kind of turning around. Maybe he's blasting some ships. I kind of want this little point to be further out. I don't know what spot that is. Okay, let's see if we can get that. No, I think it's okay, actually. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see if I can get further this way. Okay. Now, again, I did that problem where I have to zoom in. I'm going to delete that keyframe, zoom out again. And let's take a look here. All right, so now he's flying towards where there's probably just a ton of enemies. Okay, let's go to the right. We're gonna fly more. We're gonna blast all of these guys here. All right, let's see what that looks like. So he comes in, he turns left, he turns right, he flies into this area. He's gonna have to turn right a bit because there's more to go fight. Let's see here. So let's do this. All right, so he's flying in here. All right, so he's kind of going through this entire pathway here. All right. And then once he gets through that path, let me double check. So if you look at the map again, this is where we're at. We're at this top area, number 7, right before number 7, between 6 and 7. So maybe you could loop around a bit more here. I think we kind of did. Let's zoom out and see. Yeah, I think we kind of did that. Okay, so let's go back here. Yeah, okay, so we looped around, just like I thought, looped around that area. We could probably go a little bit further up here, but I don't know. So he's gonna come around and dig into this area. It's actually probably better to animate like this. So let's dig into this area a little bit. Maybe come up a hair so it doesn't hit that one. Come that way. I'm gonna move this out a little bit. It's probably too fast. No, it's not bad actually. Okay. And let's rotate it. Okay. Put those on top of each other. And let's zoom out a little more, a few more seconds. Let's get them over this area. And let's get them turning again. Okay, let's see what that looks like there. Okay, now he's going to turn towards that entrance, which is where we're going to wrap it up. Well, at least the entrance of the enemy. So we're at this top turn here, between 6 and 7. Let's take a look. So I'm using a 2-finger, I think it's right finger click or right click to move around. WASD, shift to move faster. All right, let's turn the ship. So we're going to turn towards, that's not the one we want. We want green. Sometimes you got to make sure you're grabbing the right one. Okay, so we're definitely going to turn that way. I hit W to go forward. And we're going to fly towards this ravine, maybe coming back down. So we're not revealing ourselves too much. All right. It's kind of a quick turn here. That's not bad. Okay, that's not bad. All right, now we're going to approach this ravine. We're getting close at the end here. Let's zoom out a few seconds. Let's move it forward to the left, up a hair, and even a little more forward. Okay. All right, and let's rotate it out. Okay, so now we've entered into kind of the danger zone. So this area, I do want a little bit of a sweep again. Let's maybe do like the Y to the left makes a bit more sense. And then the Y back to the right. We'll polish this a bit later. And this is where there is some dialogue, okay? There's a large area here. It's not as large as maybe you'd think, but we're going to just start inching forward. And this is where I'd like the game to get a bit more interesting. So let's rotate that Y to the left. Oops, the Y. I said the Y, I grabbed the Z. All right. Now there's a lot of fog, kind of the fog of war here. So he does move forward with that, right? It's just a slow move. He moves forward with that one. So let me zoom this over. I think maybe I was in the wrong spot here. Let's check. Okay, that'll work. I think that works. All right, now what I actually want to do, and I'll have to do the probe later, is the probe around this area is probably going to fly away and disappear. It's going to get away, if you will. And this ship is going to get kind of just sucked into the void. So, I don't know, maybe I'll delete that one. Okay. I'm not really understanding why the position here was not more. Let's delete this position and start over here. Gonna move them deeper into this, right? And let's turn them towards the main event. Okay. So now he's kind of entering the main event, and what we'll have him do is probably start going, let's do this, forward into this kind of ravine, if you will, or this circular, oh, maybe I went too far here. There it is, kind of this area. I'm going to completely turn him around. So he's looking back at maybe the probe who's leaving. So he's going to get kind of sucked in here. What's happening? Do I have a second one there? I do. Okay, so let me kill this second one, see if this will. I'm not sure what's happening here. Sometimes this happens, sometimes it's like, man, what is this animation doing that I didn't want it to do? So let me zoom out a bit here and see what's going on. Okay, so we're going from here. Yep, this is it. Okay. All right. So maybe it's just a hiccup in the animation. And what we're going to do is we're going to flip them around. Okay. So give it a few seconds of him just flying literally straight up. And let's rotate his face down. I don't know if that's actually... I'm going to rotate him first so I can see what rotation it is. I think it's going to be X. Yeah, it's going to be X. So he's looking down in this hole, right? And then we're going to just take him straight up. Maybe a little too far. Let's do like a 60 degree. I think part of it is the way the rotation is causing him to look a certain direction. Oh, that's what it is. I want like 100. Okay. And let's keep going up. All right. I think that is a good start. Let's stop recording and let's just give it a quick playthrough. Okay, let's see what that feels like. All right, I actually found myself having to speed this up quite a bit. And what's really neat, a little tool in here you can use is if you highlight whatever it is you want to speed up, there's these bars on the right-hand side and you can kind of squish these together to make it work a little bit faster. So that's what I did. Let's take a look here. We're just gonna play through it real quick. Maybe we'll put the sound on for this. Maybe not, it's a bit loud. Obviously we have the ability to shoot and move around still. This is kind of the beginning scene, so there's a lot of, chatter here. Obviously I have to kill these ships. Again, let me know if you want me to make these little rocks, hittable. It'd be pretty cool to blast those and see kind of the blast coming through. Okay, now we're coming up in this area where we left off from the first iteration, and we're starting kind of this zoom around this canyon. Hopefully don't hit any rocks or the canyon walls. And then this is where we kind of slow down and there's that dialogue between the probe and the captain. Maybe the probe is sensing a bit more in this area, like cautioning him, right? So then we're going to fly down through this area, come up, and then we're going to see this kind of open area, as we mentioned. And we're seeing a lot going on, right? Maybe there's a lot of ships waiting for us. Maybe we just start blasting them, right? Whatever the player wants to do. We're going to roll around to this left side. We're still seeing a bunch of stuff coming at us. And then we're going to kind of continue to roll through this area. Going to go to the right-hand side. Yeah, we're still blasting. Maybe the ship is dodging. Who knows? And then we're coming up on this side here. to kind of get a better angle. And maybe we're cleaning up the rest on this side. Probably need to adjust a little bit, you know, more visibly. And then here's the big area, as we mentioned. So this is, right, this is where we're getting sucked into the top here. Gotta make sure we don't hit the mountains. And then we're getting pulled in. And it'd be cool to just continue to shoot these baddies as we're getting pulled into the top. And then we kind of get a fade to black here or something like that. Pretty cool. That is how we kind of adjust the Rails system or the ship Rails system. There's obviously a lot of little adjustments to make, but you kind of get the broad idea of how to do it. So if you like this and you want to see more of it, you want to see me more kind of do this devlog of how I add things, how I add the maps, how I adjust things, even how I use AI to walk me through things that I don't know, then subscribe today. I'll put this in a playlist so you can kind of see the beginning and the end of it. Next time I'll go into maybe more of these slider tweaks to make this look better, make the timing better, and also to get kind of the ship movement. So tune in tomorrow for that. I think this is super good that we got this from like the beginning to the end. We got that map in there, so I think we followed the map well. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.